$20. That was the price of all the shrimp you could eat every day for as long as you wanted to sit at the table. It sounds like a marketing gimmick that got a little too popular. It is now evidence in a lawsuit about who really profits when a restaurant chain collapses. So here's the real question. Was Red Lobster killed by an all-you-can-eat shrimp deal or by a financial structure put in place a decade earlier that made a shrimp deal enough to kill it? Red Lobster wasn't a startup that overreached. It was an old, familiar chain, sold in 2014 to a private equity firm called Golden Gate Capital for $2.1 billion. In a private equity buyout, the purchase price is rarely the interesting part. What happens right after usually is, here's the mechanism, in plain terms. Golden Gate didn't just buy a restaurant company, it bought hundreds of buildings the restaurant company owned. So it split the two apart. The buildings, roughly 500 of them, were sold off in a $1.5 billion deal to a separate real estate buyer. Red Lobster then signed leases to rent back those same properties it used to own leases that ran more than 24 years. That structure has a name, a sale-leaseback. The company gets a large pile of cash today. In exchange, it gives up the one major asset that used to be free and clear, and replaces it with a bill that never stops coming, month after month, for decades. The cash is a one-time event. The rent is forever. And that bill kept climbing. By 2023, Red Lobster's rent on its leased locations had grown past $190 million a year. Money that used to sit on the balance sheet as owned property was now leaving the building every single month. Whether the restaurants were full or half empty, there was no cushion left. No asset to sell, no equity to borrow against, just rent. That's the foundation. Here's what got built on top of it. In 2016, a Thai seafood company called Thai Union bought a minority stake in Red Lobster for $575 million. At the time, it made a promise. It would stay out of day-to-day operations, including how Red Lobster bought its seafood. Hold on to that promise, because 4 years later, everything about it would change. In 2020, Thai Union led a group that bought out Golden Gate Capital's remaining stake entirely, a consortium that also included Red Lobster's own top executives through a newly formed entity of their own. Thai Union came out of that deal as Red Lobster's largest shareholder, holding 49% of the company. Now, notice what that actually means, because this is the second mechanism, and it's the one that matters more than the shrimp itself. Thai Union wasn't just an investor in Red Lobster anymore. Thai Union was also one of Red Lobster's shrimp suppliers. The same company sat on both sides of the table as an owner who profits when Red Lobster does well, and as a vendor who profits every time Red Lobster buys more shrimp, whether that shrimp makes the restaurant any money or not. That's what a hidden profit incentive looks like in practice. It doesn't show up as a line item anyone votes on. It shows up quietly, in which decisions get made and which don't, because the people making them are answering to two different sets of financial interests at once. By late 2022, Thai Union's own finance chief said as much out loud on an earnings call. The company was, in his words, much deeper involved in managing Red Lobster than it had first promised. And in 2023, Red Lobster dropped two of its longtime shrimp suppliers, a decision the company's own later bankruptcy filing described as happening in apparent coordination with Thai Union. Into that setup came the promotion. Ultimate Endless Shrimp, All You Can Eat, made a permanent everyday offer for $20 flat, starting in 2023. The math did not hold. In the third quarter of 2023, Red Lobster reported an $11 million operating loss, meaning the core restaurant business, before financing costs, was losing real money linked to the promotion. Customers were doing exactly what the sign told them to do. The company simply hadn't priced the offer to survive that. By September of 2023, Red Lobster defaulted on a $275 million loan, meaning it missed payment terms it had legally agreed to. 4 months later, in January 2024, Thai Union announced it was walking away from its investment entirely, taking what's called an impairment charge, an accounting write-down that admits an asset is now worth far less than what you paid for it. In this case, roughly $530 million, nearly Thai Union's entire original stake, gone. And on May 19, 2024, Red Lobster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, a legal process that lets a struggling company keep operating while it restructures its debts under court supervision. The case came with a $100 million financing commitment from the company's own lenders, just to keep the doors open during the process. In its own words, the company pointed to a difficult economic environment, a bloated and underperforming footprint, and what it called failed or ill-advised strategic initiatives. By some estimates, customer visits had already fallen by roughly 30% since 2019, a decline that predates the shrimp promotion entirely. That is the company's own framing, broader than just one promotion, and it deserves to be taken seriously on its own terms. But the story didn't end in bankruptcy court. It moved to a different courtroom. In 2026, a trust representing Red Lobster's creditors owed roughly $295 million, sued Thai Union, its CEO, and former Red Lobster CEO Paul Kenny. The lawsuit alleges the endless shrimp promotion wasn't just a bad call. It alleges the deal turned into what the complaint calls a car crash for Red Lobster, orchestrated to, in the lawsuit's own words, squeeze out every drop of value for Thai Union's benefit. To be clear, that is an allegation, argued by one side in an active lawsuit. It has not been decided by any court. Thai Union has denied wrongdoing and has separately claimed that Red Lobster owes it money of its own over supply forecasting disagreements. This dispute cuts in both directions, and as of this video, it remains unresolved. So step back from the shrimp for a second, because what actually happened here has very little to do with seafood. A restaurant chain lost its real estate to a private equity buyout, which meant it had no cushion left when things eventually went wrong. Then, its largest shareholder became its supplier too, which meant the incentive to sell Red Lobster more shrimp was never fully aligned with the incentive to keep Red Lobster itself profitable. Neither of those two facts required anyone to be a cartoon villain. They only required ordinary people, inside an ordinary company, responding rationally to the incentives they were actually handed. Change the incentives, and you very likely change the outcome. That's the pattern worth remembering, far more than the price of a plate of shrimp. When you can't tell whether a decision is being made for the company, or for whoever happens to be sitting across the table from it, you've usually found the real mechanism behind the failure, and it's rarely announced with a press release. It's also not a new playbook, and it's not unique to seafood. The same sale-leaseback move that hollowed out Red Lobster's real estate cushion has shown up in strikingly similar form in some of the largest retail collapses of the last 2 decades. That's where the private equity playbook goes next.